Hey, folks, I'm in the middle of purchasing a boom microphone arm, so I'm just carrying Massey, my friend Massey's right here on the cover of my little mic, my Yeti Nano. It's a little one. So hopefully, the vocals come through. Blake, you keep track on how I'm sounding and let me
Sounds
know.
great right now. Right where you've got it is perfect.
Okay, well, this is good. We want to make our people happy. So much is happening, Blake. It's Friday. Another week is come and gone. Georgia, the election in Georgia back in 2020, it is in the headlines because kind of their arbiters there have finally conceded the Fulton board, I guess the electoral board in Fulton County in Georgia kind of goes, well, yeah, we didn't do due process. And of course, liberal type minded people are saying, well, it doesn't mean that there was any fraud or anything like that. It just means that they didn't follow due process. But there's a reason that due process needs to be followed. And if you don't follow it, it leaves the opportunity to say, well, they did a hand count, recount, and everything's all up on board and yada, yada, yada. Nonetheless, a lot is happening there. So I've got a lot of quotes about it, a lot of screen captures. Uh, some really good news too. Of course, all the naysaying about Trump's tariffs are um, are making the news. This is going to kill the economy. Tariffs are bad. Want to welcome our friend Solon all the way from Tennessee, Nashville. He's a munition. Check that channel out and support independent artists. And James Farley has joined us as well. James, welcome aboard. Okay, so this was kind of fun. Always fun when CNN has to eat a little crow on these things. This is the inflationary number returns,
I mean, I was surprised.
and it was really good news for Trump. And it shows the tariffs are working, Blake. It's a sound strategy. Good things are happening. Here we go.
I mean, I was surprised. It was a better number than anyone was expecting. Look, inflation's been very high. It's stayed high. It has not been coming down. But, people were expecting it to be above 3%. It was well below 3%. I mean, I think the president will take this as good news. The investors will think that interest rates will get cut more. So, it was a positive news. There's no other way to spin it.
Absolutely.
I mean, I was surprised. It was a better number than anyone was expecting.
I'll get rid of this.
Look, inflation's been very high. It's stayed.
All right. And this one here. All right. Sorry, Blake. Sorry, audience. Just took me a while. I got so many tabs open. But really good news. Surprising news from the pundits, from the critics of Trump. They had to eat crow on that. This is a job number, or the inflationary number, more accurately, that they did not expect the president to bring in. He did it. The tariffs are working. Well, as we like to say, some of us MAGA people, trust the plan, trust Trump. That is really tremendous good news. Now, I've got another one on this topic again. Bear with me because I've got so many different links. Okay, here it is. Fortunately, it tends to show the very last clip. And boom, here we go. This is fun. The difference between gas prices in Texas and California, just one day apart. Denton, Texas, gas can be purchased here. You can see it. $1.95. Let's go big.
Too cranky. What the hell?
Okay, hold on. Let's keep our hip hop off. So want to buy cheap gas, boom, boom, $1.95. Meanwhile, in California, like up to $8 you're paying. Like that is unbelievable. $8 a gallon versus 195, $1.95. So crazy good for the president. And let me get in this thing. Let me take it down a square. Boom. And the comment goes, the difference between gas price in Texas, California, one day apart, Denton, 195, LA, 789. Gas so cheap makes me want to buy a gas car again. Tremendous news. But it shows the impact that individual states have on prices. California is notorious. Blue state, socialist, wants to tax its people out of the yin yang. So Inflationary market, Trump's tariff policy, thoughts, Blake, on the economy, because it's the economy's stupid, right? Bill Clinton's one-liner.
Yeah, well, and people just need to understand any kind of economic policies, by the time they roll through the system and any changes, by the time you actually start seeing real results, sometimes it can take up to 2 years to see that result. And I think, people were pushing the panic button as soon as tariffs started to go in, because they're thinking, oh, it's going to cost, the living is going to go way up because you're going to have to pay more. But understanding that takes time. And actually, I think it's actually remarkable that it wasn't up, and because of the tariffs. I'm not saying tariffs are going to cause inflation long term, but it would be an inflationary aspect to look at when you're having to pay more for something made local than, say, something that you're buying from afar that has a tariff on it. The point is that as more businesses start to invest in making products in the United States and services that are not tariffs, more competition, those prices should start to level out. And that's where the value is. And it was needed to be done. It doesn't matter what anyone thinks. I mean, I'm Austrian economics type of guy. I do believe in free trade and lowest price wins around the world if you could
Yeah,
do that.
competition, right?
And that's classic.
Free market.
Yeah, Austrian economics. And I think on this kind of situation is like, this was a national security problem. When your entire industrial base is moved offshore, and your weapons are dependent, your military is dependent off microchips being produced in Taiwan or South Korea or in China. And where, any country really outside of your own country, once you go beyond that point, you're now at risk that you can't even defend yourself. You cannot be the superpower that you are when you become a dependent vassal state to the rest of the world. And it's industrialization, and it's the industrialization of America that made it so powerful in World War I and World War II. Helps having a big moat called the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. But the fact is that was a big part of it. And when the globalists decided, hey, it's a great idea, let's move everything to China, this would make everything cheaper. Yeah, it did make everything cheaper, but it was only to the benefit of those that were importing all the products. What it was a catastrophe was to Main Street USA. It annihilated small towns, your main streets, your mom pop
and
operations.
Canada. Anybody part of this global trade thing? The middle class got the crap kicked out of them.
So you need to weigh out the value proposition here. And that's the thing. Do you want cheaper stuff from Walmart, or do you want an industrial base back in your own country where you have more companies competing locally? They can actually make a profit on it now. And as that starts to develop out, it's just going to get better. It's going to take time. And that's a great number to see this early in year one in the game of his first year as president, since he took power in early January. Yeah, round two. He calls himself 47, but he's really still 45.
Well, we're going to get into the 45 and the 46 and the 47. Auto pen looking pretty bad right now. We've got a lot to cover on that front. But let's turn our attention to England. We have our friend Fordy in. If Trump doesn't intervene more aggressively in the UK, we'll have no juries, no free speech, no vote, no movement beyond a 50-mile radius. I love this man. This is my friend Fordy. I know his real name, but we honor his anonymity here. And I just want to say, Fordy, the latest magazine, he just gifted me. I'm a big Beatles fan. I got a lot of Beatles. Beatles up there. I got Beatles everywhere. And so my favorite group, and Fordy very kindly got in my hands 4 high quality, high production magazines from Europe. And I'm just very grateful to him for it. And they're really good. Behind scenes kind of fly on the wall stuff for the Beatles, early Beatles, traveling or traipsing about London, Liverpool, and all that stuff. So thank you, Fordy. But I want to go, I've got a clip here. Blake and I were talking a little bit about the nature of England, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. We're all kind of in the same boat. The Commonwealth, South Africa, we must throw in. We're all in hot water. We're treading water here. But here's the clip. Let's see what's happening in jolly old England. Not so jolly, still old. Okay, here we go.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to do my best to get an answer, but I'm not sure I'm going to get one based on the two we've just heard. Without any kind of mandate, the government wants to do away with jury trials, and it wants to extend the powers of magistrates to sentence people for up to 2 years without any right to appeal, conviction, or sentence. Can she confirm that last year, of 5,000 cases appealed from magistrates' courts, more than 40% were upheld? Is it the government's policy to simply live with this number of miscarriages of justice? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
All right. So there's the situation. What they're doing is, the system is gearing up for a large kickback, and we've already seen lots of it. Marches, and Tommy Robinson has been very vocal and in the forefront of all this. I have a lot of respect for Tommy Robinson. He gets short thrift from even some of the conservative pundits on our side. Tucker Carlson infamously coming out and criticizing him, and we had Piers Morgan, who's done nobody any favors. He's kind of a liberal that just sees the writing on the wall and knows that he's not going to make any money if he just echoes the leftist talking points of his, compadres. That the true power is in MAGA, is in a conservative voice. Actually, I've got a clip I forgot to bring up about that. I'll go hunt that down while I turn this over to Blake. But England, Australia, Canada, fast trials, no juries, no jury of your peers, magistrates. That's the state representing the state. When you get a magistrate, he's going to give his opinion. And boy, it doesn't look good at all. The optics are horrific. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Blake.
Yeah, there's a madness. That's the only way to describe it. It is, but it's planned. There's no way that each one of our Five Eyes countries are going to operate at the same level, doing the same thing to its citizenry without some coordinated effort. And again, this comes right down to this. We are vassals to the crown and the crown's connection to the interests of the World Economic Forum, the WEF, and the direction they're going. And the banking cartels through Basel III, they are changing everything to you will own nothing and be happy. This is the crackdown on freedom. And seeing what's happening in the UK, what's happening in Canada, what's just happening again in Australia after the shooting at Bondi Beach, they blame the local population. There is a demoralization psyop that is going against the lawful citizens of the country. And that is just strange. It's just, other than simply they know they're changing something, they're doing something illegal, but they're blaming you, the lawful moral majority, or at least used to be a majority in the country, so that they can continue to get away with the pillaging, the kleptocracy, and eventually the rise of a new fascist state, because that's essentially what they're talking about here. Because England, Canada is doing the same thing on a Bill C9. It's essentially what they're saying is they want to bypass all the due process of you're innocent until proven guilty. Essentially, they'll throw you in front of a judge and you will be charged, you'll be convicted, and you have no means to appeal. And that's what they're saying here. They want to get rid of your jury of your peers. But even worse than that, if a judge rules on your case, they're saying in the UK that judge word is final. You can't appeal it.
Correct.
And in Canada, under
habeas corpus goes out the window right at that moment.
Well, this is revolutionary. This is the kind of stuff where England went into civil war over and broke free, which eventually brought about the war against the crown when we started to see Magna Carta, right? Magna Carta is a basis of all of the laws in the free world of the West, right? That's essentially rolls from the Magna Carta, that lords can't just rule over the peasants anymore, that we have rights as well. And here they are for the first time taking the Magna Carta and ripping it up. And this is right out of I mean, really, this is Nazi Germany stuff. This is 1930 Germany. This is desperation from an insane group of people that have power, and they're wielding it across Europe. The EU is trying to flex. Canada and C9, they want to do the same thing, except they want to economically cripple you. They think by starving you is the way to do it. Well, didn't the Russians under the Soviet Union do that to the Ukrainians? Starving them out. Well, I can't remember what it was called, that Stalin's policy basically murdered millions by just starving them. Well, essentially, it's an electronic starvation. In Canada, under Bill C9, if you do wrong speak to the government, they're going to strip you of your connection to the internet, connection to a phone, connection to your banks, connection.
Yeah.
So you'll basically not be able to buy, sell, or trade. You'll be on the streets begging for food. That will be the only way. It's back to, you will be the public pariah, and they want to put you in the square in chains so people could throw apples and oranges at you so you can't eat, or tomatoes, or whatever the way it used to be. It is horrendous what we're seeing. And the people of England, I hope you rise up. I mean, having more of those big rallies in London, when they tried to downplay it and say that, wow, there might have been, 100,000 people. No, there was like 750,000 people there. You need to do it again and again and again, and you need to fill the streets. I see in the EU, farmers are gathering together, and they are rolling in with their farm vehicles, and they are right in front of the EU headquarters in Brussels. This is what needs to be done. And we need to not only challenge the WF's point with regards to, we're heading into an angrier world. We're only going into an angrier world because of them. They want it. They're orchestrating it. They're organizing it.
Yeah.
They're talking to us like we're children. And then they're talking to us in ways that is opposite to truth and reality. They say this is science when it's not. But when real science is applied, they're saying, don't believe your eyes, don't believe the science. It doesn't exist. It's just a conspiracy theory. So they're coming into the mat. This says to me they're preparing for mass arrests. They are going to,
because they know the jig's up. They know that there's going to be such monumental kickback. Blake, here's another kind of story that's covering news in the Western world. This is whole issue of DEI. And in Canada, we're just getting inundated with temporary foreign workers. Now, I know this is anecdotal. I've been working on, I love my Spitfire, my favorite airplane. I like flight sims. I wrote the book on it years ago. And I recently got a new computer ostensibly to help me with, so I got a million tabs open here. It's got a lot of guns in it, figuratively speaking. And so I've hooked up my flight joystick, and I'm back in, not playing online with everybody, but just getting control of the handle and programming the joystick. So it's taken up. I've been in Future Shops, right? The Future Shop stores, tech. I'm in there buying cables and little tables and items, computer items. And then I was in Walmart today. I got to tell you, it's not just fast food chains like A&W, which were doing a commercial in Punjabi because they've got a large enough purchasing base just to speak in that language, non-official language in Canada, by the way. We got two, English and Quebec French. And so I'm in there, and everybody is, I don't know if they're temporary foreign workers, but they're certainly talking like they don't come from Musha. Okay, this is what I am saying to you, Blake. So, and they're very nice people, I have no problem with it. It's great, but you notice it, you're aware of it. And so it's not just the fast food where these people are coming in, but it seems Future Shop is really hired him in. It's really a lot of people from India represented there, and they have the access there because you're engaged. Hey, do you know where the ink cartridge? Oh, yes, you go to the wallet, you'll find your cartridge. Enjoy shopping at the Future Shop. Customer, loyal customer. And so, so I got that. Then I'm over at Walmart. It's the same thing. Oh, excuse me. I'm looking for a little table. I got it right here. I'm hammer. I was right there. It's perfect. I got my little mouse, so I don't have to. I was just leaning right here. I'm so comfy, Blake. I got to take a picture one of these days, show the rig. But anyway, and it was a lovely girl. She goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. I am trading. I cannot help you." And I go, "That's fine. No worries. Yeah, I'll go find a manager somewhere. We'll get to the bottom, find out where this tray is that I'm looking for." So that's becoming a real issue, this temporary foreign workers. Now, one Tim Hortons, and it's like a drop in the ocean. I guess they fired all their old stock Canadian employees.
Mm-hmm.
They were hiring all these temporary foreign workers. It went viral social media, and that particular case, the A&W store went back on it, rehired the people they had fired, and they stopped their
Or Tim Hortons.
plans. Yeah, Tim Horton. Was it Tim
Yeah.
Horton? What did I say? I don't know.
Yeah, you said A&W, but yeah,
Yeah,
Tim Hortons.
sorry,
Yeah.
Tim Horton, Timmy Hortons, immigrants. But anyway, so your thoughts on that element of it all? It's all part and parcel of it, of course.
Oh, 100. I think we've touched on this a number of times.
Yeah.
The great replacement theory is not a theory; it's a fact. It is an organized attempt to flood the first world with their lack of for covering up for the first world's irresponsibility not to have children. We decided as a culture by about the 1960s, kind of the closing out of the baby boom era, decided that as the boomers started to get into young adulthood, that they wanted all the liberty and freedom and free love and not have the responsibility of children.
Yeah.
And so, it became, let's go have fun. But I think the government's kind of capitalized on that because
and the birth control bill shows up in 1965 or so. So that's all part and parcel. How convenient that invention shows up at the same time as the sex, the free love, and all that kind of thing was going on. So it was a perfect storm that way, which years later, now we're starting to see the consequence of this. Elon Musk has been very vocal about decreasing birth rates in not just Canada and the United States, but in Europe, all over the first world. Traditionally, Western civilization is facing a crisis on that front right now,
and it's expanded everywhere
because we failed to follow God's advice that says be fruitful and multiply. I think we got the fruitful part right. But anyway,
and then we got fruitful, but we didn't want the responsibility of the fruitfulness. And I think that's what came about is this idea is that my lifestyle became more important than the reality is that your lifestyle was dependent, actually, your future lifestyle. Everyone was thinking for the moment, let's do all this. But all of industry and everything ramped up to cover the boomers coming out of World War II, all the kids that were born after World War II to repopulate the millions lost, murdered through through bloody warfare and genocide in Europe. And to recover from that, we had a baby boom. And then after that, all of a sudden said 1960s, the rise of the pill, the changing of the laws to support abortion, the loud cries that the world was going to end, to global freezing, everybody. It started off, we were going to go into a new ice age before they decided to try warming, overpopulation, all this kind of stuff. But yet there was always a small group of professors who would tell the truth. We're going to be in a demographic bomb if we don't have children. And that bomb is a reality. China is affected by it firsthand. They went to a one-child policy. They ended up killing, by abortion, most of their women, right? All the little girls were killed because the men were seeing, they wanted to keep a boy because a boy would be productive, and where the girl was seen as unproductive. And so now they have
very far-sighted in that.
They got short on women, and now they're in a population bomb of themselves. China's in big trouble.
Did they learn nothing from Mars? Because I understood Mars needs women.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an old movie.
So to get to India, why is India, populating the West now? Well, because India and Pakistan are massive net increases in population. They're some of the few countries in the world that you could say have population surplus. For the world. So the WEF types and their replacement theory, it all comes down to this. power and money. To keep your money, you need to hold power. How do you maintain power and order when your system is collapsing because you don't have enough people to support it anymore? When your working class people are retiring en masse and you don't have enough younger people to fill in those gaps, you can't have all those social services, all those unfunded liabilities to be funded by one or two people to support three or four that are retired. It's not sustainable. That's society's collapse. And that's kind of what we're experiencing now. So what was their answer to this? Let's import millions of unskilled people when we traditionally went through a skilled vetting process for immigrants to unskilled. Because when you talk to people from India who were here prior to all that, they don't like it either because they earned their stripes to come into the country. They had accreditations, real university degrees, not crackerjack crap that we see today. They weren't just foreign students that were put in fake schools to draw them in, but they were people that had a lot of skill. There were doctors. We have a lot of Indian doctors here in Canada. We used to do that in Canada. We used to draw from England because England had a surplus through the baby boom. We were able to draw a lot of teachers and doctors and people professions from England to come here after the boom and Europe. But since the baby boom is over, we're in decline. The millennial generation was kind of the next minor boom, but not enough to kind of cover it. My generation X, we're numerically small. I was, in the middle. But here's the problem. None of us are enough to cover the baby boomers retiring. And the WF, remember, they are asset managers. The banks and asset managers are one and the same. So they know if you have a massive decline, you're going to have a devaluation on everything. You won't be able to pay out the pensions. The pension funds will start to collapse.
Yeah.
You don't have it. So what are they doing? They're bringing in millions of unskilled labor. The biggest mistake Europe's doing is they're importing it from Islamic world. It is a cultural shift in England. It's like, let's bring the Ottoman Empire back to life and let's sprinkle them all throughout Europe. And there's this liberal philosophy is we'll all just learn to get along. No. It's not working in Europe. Luckily for us, Indians are not big fans of Islam.
No.
Yeah. So if there's one population, we should say, okay, they're a free republic. There's a lot of cultural differences between us and India, but at least they believe in capitalism. They do believe in freedom. They're not interested in being subjugated under an Islamic regime. So I think we may be protected by that. And Sikhs are great people. I'm sorry, the people who go after Sikhs all the time. I'm like, I've known a lot of Sikhs. I think Sikhs are generous and kind
they're
people.
a huge population, and yeah, exactly right. My best friend came from a Sikh family when, in the second grade. Okay, listen, one of the things is like false consciousness. The Marxists love talking about false consciousness. Well, here's a false consciousness notion. I come out of the vinyl community. You see all these beautiful stacks of records, and I just love music. I'm a rock and roller. I love my Beatles, as mentioned earlier. And but in the music community, it's leftists, it's artists, everybody's more left, and so you get a perception that, like, how can maybe there's one or two Republicans around or conservative-minded people. I prefer actually conservative over the term Republican because the GOP, of course, the thumbnail from couple of shows ago was a giant elephant on Trump's back. He's got a lot of resistance within the old guard Republican, the grand old party, that are causing troubles for the Trump administration. We're getting rid of them. We're winning them. We're primarying them. We're getting rid of them. MAGA is only going from strength to strength. But this came across, and I just had to laugh at this. Like, this is good news for us. So sorry, vinyl community. This is great news from our side of the aisle. Holy smokes, it's so over, Benny Johnson. CNN just dropped devastating news for Dems. Democrats in the minds of the American public are lower than the Dead Sea. 55 points overall, 61 points with independents. Lowest approval rating ever.
Voters,
hold on. Let's do that. Let's give them proper thrift. And read them and wheat, Debs. I'm so sorry to announce this for you, but this is just pure comedy gold. Here we go.
How are voters feeling about Democrats right now?
Yeah, I mean, Democrats in the minds of the American public are lower than the Dead Sea. What are we talking about here? Well, let's take a look. The net approval rating for Democrats in Congress, you said it, Kate Baldwin, the lowest ever. Look at this. Overall, they are 55 points underwater. Their approval rating is south of 20%. It's even worse when you look at independents. Look at this. Negative 61 points. That means that their approval rating is 61 points lower than their disapproval rating. Quinnipiac has been polling this question for the better part of the 21st century. They have never found Democrats, at least those in Congress, in worse shape than they are right now.
Okay, a great report. Love to hear it. What does that tell us? What any conclusions we can draw from this, Blake?
Because the Democrats have no leadership. They're lost. I think they've been, let's say now they're the ones facing the distractions that they threw on Trump in 2016 to 2020. They have lost that war. They've lost the culture war. They're now on the defensive. Nobody believes in it anymore because most of it was a psyop anyways. Nobody believed in all that crap that they were promoting to try and what they're doing in Canada and what they're doing in Europe and what they're doing in the UK and Australia. Americans have rejected that 100%. And the Democrats haven't learned. There's only a handful of them, the Fettermans, I would say, are the ones that realize that the direction.
He's a rarity, though. I mean, he's such a black sheep within the, what do you call it, length and breadth of the Democrat Party. He's an outlier. This guy, Fetterman, is so interesting. He's got a lot. He says, I got a lot of Republicans. He's in a Republican-rich state, Pennsylvania, kind of a battleground state. But still a lot of red. And I believe it did get carried by Trump last election. Yeah, we took Pennsylvania. But, it's very interesting. See, I think we've been lied to. And I think most of us think we've been lied to. The results, the election, everything. Now, right now, the focus is on Fulton County in Georgia. There is, they got trouble right here in River City.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'll never forget that video where they pulling the suitcases out when they kicked everybody out and started hauling suitcases of ballots from underneath the table.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do this one. One of the things that's coming out of this is the president is actually suing Fulton County. Civil rights, A.A. Harmeet Dillon. There you go. There's an East Indian lady. Dylan, that's an Indian name. Kyle Becker, good morning. Trump is suing Fulton County, to which she responds, yes, we are. And then this is kind of fun, too. This will drive Democrats nuts. Just in, the darts have dropped to reveal Donald J. Trump and John F. Kennedy Memorial Center for Performing Arts. Let's go. Democrats already in tears. It just gets worse and worse for them. But Trump is suing Fulton County. Now, what's going on there? Why is that happening? Let's find out why. I've got a lot on this. Okay, here we'll do this one, share this one instead. And I think I've got to go full screen for us all to be able to read it here effectively. Okay, Georgia affidavit of Mark Wingate, member of the Fulton County Board of Registration Elections. The board was told that Fulton County did not perform any signature verification on any absentee by mail-in ballot in the 2020 election. Sounds like an illegal election got certified. Now, the Dems do have their rejoinder on all this, and I just want to get to what they're saying about it. Okay, here we go. This is the one. So this is Mike Young. He is Gen X from, it looks like Indianapolis or something. County over corporations, break monopolies, ban drug-free, build homes, and dark money. Same rules for everyone. He's a Democrat guy. He goes, this claim about the election and the not counting the, getting them certified properly, the tabulations weren't signed off on properly. He goes, look, it's just a documentation requirement. Missing signatures are simply a procedural violation. It's not a finding that votes were illegal or miscounted. Settle down, MAGA. Georgia conducted a full hand recount, then a machine recount, and certified the same outcome. If unsigned paperwork automatically voided votes, elections nationwide would be chaos. That's not how the law works. It's not how Georgia applied it. So, no, there's no there, is what young Mike is saying. But people go in and and start refuting him. Did you see the video of the water emergency evacuation? Of course, it was Fulton County where that happened.
Yeah.
That apparently the pipes, the mains had burst. There was flooding, and they had to go in there and stop counting. And then everything was moving along like this. Trump was on the ascendancy, and then right at that point, then everything leveled out with Biden ultimately winning by a very small amount of
Saw that in
votes.
Pennsylvania as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you can actually talk about the purpose of signed tabulator tapes, also called memory cards. Grok goes on to answer, it basically says it is a deal. This guy simply says, fuck you, Mike. Kind of, the fraudulent ballots were never folded or mailed, but were filled out and counted. Poll worker whistleblowers complained immediately, but nothing was done. This is the nuts and bolts of it. They did complain, nothing was done. A lawsuit was filed 6 years ago to inspect the phony ballots, but despite a court order, the state refused to allow any kind of inspection, and until now, and that has come under duress.
Yeah.
Let's use the letter of the law to deny clear reality. Go fuck yourself, Mike. How to say I'm not a lawyer without saying I'm not a lawyer. So, how many procedural violations does it take to render our election process untrustworthy? One. And we have had hundreds, if not thousands. Photo ID, proof of citizenship, same day voting, paper ballots, and clean voter rolls. So, there you go. The action is all in Georgia right now. They did find that, there was a corruption that 340,000. Keep in mind, this was the one where they did shut it down because of pipe burst. And the ultimate win for Biden was 11,000 votes. But there's 300,000 votes plus that failed to go through the system without proper chain of custody is what we're dealing with, chain of custody. And folks, Trump is suing Fulton County. So is there a there? Maybe we'll see. Certainly procedural violations were in effect. They admit for the first time, they finally had to admit under oath that procedural violations did occur to the tune of over 300,000 votes. So we're not, that's enough to, concerning if true, Blake, because this would have overturned. This was such a close election. This is the kind of thing. And did it happen in Fulton alone? What happened in Arizona, right?
Exactly. Maricopa County. Yeah.
Yeah, Maricopa. And what's going on in Minneapolis? We're going to go to Minnesota a little later in the program. Trouble there as well. So we're seeing corruption, and it's not located to or isolated to Fulton County. It is a widespread problem. I think it's going to become very clear, and it's starting now, Blake. Everything seems to be coming to a head. January, it's almost like, is there a plan? I kind of think there is. It seems Trump just doesn't seem ruffled by any of this. His numbers are good. We just covered that in the show. The Dem numbers are in the toilet. We've got an amazing leader that we rally behind, that we support so fully, so loyally, so devotedly in Donald John Trump. I just love the guy. And any naysayer and any critic, he just did a master play, ladies and gentlemen, with his announcement. It was covered by every major network. Nobody missed out. He said, I've got a major announcement. The word got out that he was going to declare war on Venezuela. Instead, he gave a recap of his incredible successes for the first year of his second term. And I will add to that the very next day, the numbers on the inflation numbers came out, and they were everybody, MSNBC, CNN, they all had to cover it. They couldn't spin it. Trump is winning. Trump is winning hearts and minds. And then he turned around, and if you had any worries about the Supreme Court and their take on the legality of the tariffs, a million and 400,000 military personnel received $1,776, 1776. Happy bicentennial, or whatever we are now, bicentennial 50, United
250.
States of
Yeah.
America, 250 America. God bless America. God bless President Trump. And that, how would you like to handle? How would you handle here, Blake? Here's $1,700. Could you put that to work? I sure the
Yeah.
hell could. I sure the
Yeah,
hell
that's
could.
like $1 million Canadian.
Holy shit, man! Yeah, that's unbelievable. All right, so I've gone a little long-winded, but this section. But please take it over and give me your thoughts, just on voter election integrity, Fulton County, what we're seeing there, and what is it? What does it portend in the coming year?
Well, I think as they dig deeper into this and this becomes a fight legally now on the validity of these elections, and it's showing that there was a coercive effort to subvert the people in their election, as that evidence comes more and more clear that it was orchestrated, I think that approval rating for Trump's going to keep going up. And the big fight Trump has right now is not even with Dems; it's internal. He's got to beat in primary all these establishment candidates and these people trying to angle themselves to be the heir apparent to take over the MAGA movement. And I think that's going to be probably a bigger fight. But he's prepping, obviously, for 2026. It's the midterms. They have to win it. You have to win the midterms, or else all this goes into the mud. And then you've got it'll be 2 years of stuck in the mud. So this is all good news that this stuff's coming out. I think it's all going to roll out. I think he's gotten frustrated with some of his appointments of not moving fast enough on some of this stuff. And I think he's made that very clear that he's moving forward. It was interesting to see Dan Bongino step down.
What do you make of the timing on Bongino stepping down?
I think Bongino is going to be he's a better guy behind the mic, let's just say. And I think he's going to be a better ally or asset to Trump and MAGA, having him being a public speaker again, because I think I think this was wrong to bring him into a legal position like that, because you end up getting your wrists tied up to being able to speak on
what if he got in there and he was able to see some stuff, and now he's able to talk about some of it?
That's my point. That's what I'm saying. He
was brought in intentionally just for that role. I can't say anything right now, but now I'm loose.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting.
Who let the dogs out, right?
It's an interesting timing, right? It's just leading into the midterms. You need Dan Bongino is a powerful voice behind the mic. He has and a lot of people were concerned about what happened over the Epstein thing. He looked like a deer in headlights when he said, "There's nothing here, folks." Yet he was the guy that was promoting all along. It is a major thing, folks. When he was behind the mic,
maybe we'll get some an eye in the sky and stuff like it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, he's a Trump loyalist, so he's not a guy who's going to go against him. And I think it's the right thing. They'll get him behind the mic again. He's a big owner in Rumble. He's got a big audience. I think he'll help rally the troops on that side going into the midterms. He's a big helper there on that side. So I think, all of this is going to come to one thing, is that 2026 is going to be the first election that has not attempted to be rigged. And I think they can't possibly attempt it now, because if they try and do it, it will be a massacre against the Dems any further. They're going to have to learn to play fair. But they know if they play fair, they lose. And that's why they cheat. And I think the forces behind them, and that's what I'm going to say, this is a global effort. This is the WEF and their group of people who all supported all of the COVID regime, the COVID voting regime that followed in there. Most of us who still live kind of under COVID measures, like here in British Columbia, they want to continue to do it, which is going to be really interesting because I know this is a smaller item and not connected to the US elections, but it is connected because it deals with the voting tabulating machines by Dominion.
Yeah.
But the remanded is trying to raise funds right now. He's going into a lawsuit against Elections BC, which is going to expose all of this research about the tabulators, how they're being manipulated, which will impact that information of how they were used in the US elections as well. So I think, because everybody was all scared at one point they stopped talking about Dominion because Dominion was suing people.
Yeah.
So now if you get the proof that they can be manipulated, Dominion's going to be exposed completely.
Yeah, we know that there was a lot of smoke screens. There were a lot of breaches that were put in place.
Yeah.
Stockades, whatever you want to call them, barriers, and they're one by one they're being removed, and the bad guys are being exposed. Let's go back to Georgia just briefly.
Yeah.
And I've got this is a great one. I want to go. Rasmussen reports, great outfit. Georgia 2020 trust deficit. Forensic audit was blocked. So it's not just a procedural issue. There's footprints all over this thing. If it was just a procedural oversight, okay. But their problems are bigger than that. And I think this is where the Democrat critic that just said, hey, don't worry about it. It's just procedural. Everything was all copacetic at the end of the day. But when you put it all together, it doesn't look good. Forensic audit blocked. 100 drop boxes, no surveillance videos on that. 15 election routers have vanished. 10 Dominion tabulators vanished. 20,000 ballot images vanished. 148,000 mail ballot signatures unverified. 150,000 ballots are still locked up. And those are being sued for access. That is under federal challenge by the Department of Justice. They want those records. So those records are being sought after even now. They just can't keep the lid on this thing much longer, in my opinion, Blake.
Yeah.
But I think that really speaks to it that we're dealing with a lot more than just some procedural malfeasance or inaptitude, but that we're actually looking at something far more sinister, something far more coordinated. And it just seems everything is starting to come right down. I've been playing these flight sims. When you got an enemy plane coming in, you just kind of line them up, you apply a little rudder, and you just kind of ease up into the guy and let him have it. And, 20 millimeter cannon will make quick work, or 50 cal, whatever you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happening to my mind. What I'm seeing, how everything's converging, right? You call it your convergence with your gun sight.
Well, and you're right. I think you're bang on that, because a lot of people that have been, who are really attentive to what's going on, are saying the same thing, is to telling people right now is just watch out, be careful of the false flags, because there will be distractive false flags rolling out as Trump starts rolling this out. They'll try to distract everybody to go elsewhere. It might be, Russia war. Right now, EU is trying to amp up war against Russia, and Canada is all doing that, and they're trying to change the narrative. Like, Trump's trying to create peace over there, and they're trying to amp up war.
Yes, two different directions.
So expect false flags, and that's just because the deep staters are still active. They're still active, and the only way that this structure of what's been described as this massive voter fraud system could only be managed by people that are highly skilled in deceptive.
They got to have the media in their pockets, so no dissenting voices can be heard. That a unified parroting of "there's nothing to see here, everything's above board."
That's
Your guy
right.
lost. Joe Biden, the most popular president in history, more popular with black people than Barack Hussein Obama.
That's right.
And if you believe that, I've got some swamp water and it ain't in Florida, but I got some swamp water in
Yeah.
Minneapolis.
81 million votes. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the highest vote tally in history.
In history, Smoking Joe, what a hero.
Yeah, what was
So
Obama was 69 million, and I think Trump actually got the
70,
highest number in history of
71.
71 or
Yeah.
72 million. It was something like that. But I don't even, because of the way they're counting it, when I was looking at how they would falsify the numbers, by just adding an algorithm that adds a certain amount to the tally. It was amazing. Like even Trump probably didn't see 71. It was just the way the algorithm, they had to allocate some to him to kind of make it appear
Yeah.
that he was doing okay. But I think we're in for massive changes. I'm going to echo what I've heard other people saying. The same thing is, as this convergence happens, it is the transformation. It's the crossroads point that we're either going to take the right road or there's going to be distracting influences going to try and get you away, like infighting within MAGA.
Yeah.
That is a big thing to watch out for, because that's what the infiltrators will use to split and divide and conquer. Don't allow them to conquer you.
My advice to anybody: follow Trump. Trump's our guy. He's the president. He hasn't let us down. He hasn't failed us yet. Trump is talking about getting lower income taxes for everybody's like next year. And our good friend Cat Turd out of Texas, out of Florida, I forget where Cat Turd's based. I think it might be Texas or Florida.
I think it's Florida.
Yeah, he's
I think it's
Florida. He's Florida.
Yeah.
You're right. And he's saying by the time this summer rolls around, Trump's, again, going back to my aircraft analogy, Trump is going to have full afterburner on the economy. This thing's just going to be rocketing. This Cat Turd's prediction is already, the numbers are already better than what you think. Just wait for summer to roll around. Things are just, the economy is just going to be on fire. And Trump's working on making tax cuts for the working class people. These are where he's looking to get more money in their hands, real savings. He knows what he's up against. I think he's going to do it. He hasn't failed us yet. He hasn't failed, in my opinion. This guy is unbelievable. What a patriot.
Well, just to add to that, could I just state
go.
that, I mean, one thing that Trump does do, even people who are big supporters who may be not happy with some of the changes he's done, he does listen. And I think that people think he does listen to MAGA from the grassroots. He hears those things, and he will make pivots. He will make changes when he realizes that, maybe I need to listen to these people, stop listening to these people that are in my ear in the White House. And because he's experienced that. He's experienced that 2016 to 2020 where the wrong people were being put into positions under his administration and were distracting him. But he does listen to MAGA. So don't be afraid to say something if you don't like something. And if you hear it, he's very constructive on that side, I believe. So
Eddie, all I can tell you right now, I love this. My groceries bill say, other than your narrative, my narrative says, Eddie, hang on to your hat. Your year is 2026. And even hard to convince people like yourself, your bills are going to go down. But Trump is still wrestling. He's wrestling the economy out of one group of characters. And, he's dealing with what he was inherited. It takes some time, but it's already happening. Those low numbers that surprise CNN and NBC and all the financial wizards, Trump proved them all wrong. Trump was right. So, Eddie, let's have this conversation again a year from now, and let's see where your groceries are a year from now. I think you're going to see some remarkable, absolutely astounding improvements. The American economy is, I'll make a bet. I'll bet you 100 American dollars. I'll bet you 100 American dollars.
Well, and I think it depends on what state you're in. If you're in a blue state that doesn't give a
he's in Texas. I feel even better.
Okay.
Now I don't know if he's in a red or blue section.
Well, Eddie, come to Canada, because that's what you would be like if the Democrats took control, and your groceries would double, triple. Because right now we are getting to the point where we can't even keep up in the food banks.
We're in real trouble.
So that's what you would get if you had voted in Dems. Yeah.
So
a
anyway,
disaster.
we'll revisit that. Now we got more good news coming along. Okay, there's a headline on that. Okay, this is really good. Here's, we were talking, it's not just limited, Blake, to Fulton County. Here's another story that's come out that I'm, happy to report on. Let's go big, so once again, so you can all read this. And I'll go to the actual article. This is insane. Foreign interference in elections is illegal, but no one had the balls to prosecute it until now. Breaking. The Attorney General of Kansas just charged Mayor Jose Sabalos of the city of Coldwater for illegally voting as a non citizen in several elections. Several. Non citizen voting is a real problem. It is not something that happens once in a decade. It's something that happens fairly frequently. AG Chris Kobach. Large part of our system right now is based on trust. Trust that when the person signs the registration, signs the poll books, saying that he's a qualified elector, that he's a U.S. citizen, that the person is telling the truth. In this case, we allege that Mr. Sabayas violated that trust. Not only did he get elected city councilman and mayor as a non-citizen, can you imagine a non-citizen governing a city? He also voted. 6 charges come immediately after Ceballos was reelected in yesterday's election. He is facing at least 5 years in prison for fraud. Open Borders is here. Take him down. So I'm very happy to see justice come that way. And while we're dealing with some justice, here's some more great justice. Okay, no one is above the law except, Bill Clinton and other people. But Milwaukee County judge found guilty of obstructing federal immigration agents in the courthouse incident. Milwaukee Circuit Court Judge Hannah Dugan found guilty of helping a man avoid ICE agents' courthouse in April. Now, this was the story here. You may recall her. Remember the Milwaukee judge that tried to help an illegal immigrant escape ICE? A jury just convicted her. The jury found Judge Hannah Dugan guilty of obstructing ICE. She faces up to 5 years in prison. We got Tina Peters in prison for doing the right thing. This woman did not do the right thing. She abetted an illegal lawbreaker, and she is going to face some sort of judgment for this. So whether they throw her in the can, whether they fine her, whether she just walks with a slap on the wrist, it doesn't matter. She's a convicted felon, and as such, she will not be able to be a judge anymore. So she loses her job. Milwaukee will not allow a felon to be a judge. Never forget, Democrats defended this crime. So good news on that front, and also good news on this other fellow, this mayor of this, I assume, small town in Kansas, getting, having judgment there. I hope both of you are right and prove me wrong. Yeah, I'm feeling very confident. I think the fact that Trump was able to exceed expectations this early, and it's only going to get better as more Trump programs are initiated. Now, the one thing that could upset the apple cart is if the Supreme Court rules against Trump on his tariffs. If that's the case, then everything gets rolled back and we go back to square one. That means your grocery prices will start going up. And exploitation Canada can now exploit America again. We'll have all sorts of leverage to use against you. Right now, Canada has nothing to use against America. We're feeling the pain, but it's like an arm wrestle. If the Supreme Court rules against Trump, you're empowering foreign nations to hurt America. This foreign nation of Canada will hurt you. I don't want to see that. I love America. Blake, thoughts on these judges? Again, the pendulum, we're starting to see at least a trickle of accountability.
Yeah. Once again, it takes time. I'm just going to keep saying that. People who are impatient want it done overnight. You got to get these people one person at a time. You get them out of these positions, especially the judges. There is judges that are Soros-funded groups that have been brought in to disrupt and cause chaos. But you're absolutely right with regards to Eddie's point. Eddie, I'm just going to say their plan was to turn the U.S. into Canada. into a WF hellhole. They want to devalue the U.S. currency. They want to replace it with a central bank digital currency system. They wanted to convert you into a carbon-based system, monetary system as well, based on your social credit score. Your groceries would have gone through the roof and you'd be eating bugs. So I think this is what Trump is the big fight back with MAGA, and Trump's their guy, is to stop that. I think you're seeing the rise of the reconstitutionalizing the United States under 1776 again. You're seeing the Monroe Doctrine, what's happening in Venezuela, because Venezuela is a cesspool infected with WF and Chinese influence.
Yeah, bad guys got in there and used it as a base of operations against the United States of America. There's accountability coming there, and it's coming fast.
Well, I think Trump is saying to the world, and that's why I think when you look back, why Trump said Epstein's like a non-issue for him, because it's basically,
well, when you're dealing with this kind of level,
geopolitical problems that are putting America at risk, he had to look at this. And when you look at it's happening in Venezuela, what's happening in Honduras right now, what you're seeing in many countries around the world, this foreign influence, China has been playing is the biggest geopolitical threat. This is because they're the biggest threat, both financially, militarily now in the world.
Blake and I don't defend old stock like corrupt American CIA operations and destabilizing efforts in South America either, and other parts of the world. That's the endless wars that the president is against. That's what he's trying to put an end to.
But the Monroe Doctrine was telling European powers, colonial powers, that you are no longer coming into the Western Hemisphere, and we're no longer going to accept you colonizing, because they are a threat to the United States, mainly because they're a republic, where they're still kind of run by kings and queens, even though some of them have republic in their name, but they still have the established European order. And there is an alliance. If anybody, I'm not going to fight with anybody on this one, because it's a fact. There is a WF, which is the European Union backed central bankers who are allied to the Chinese government. And so this is why we have traitors amongst our governments, both in the US, Canada, Five Eyes, who have taken over, who are highly influenced by these powers. And like we talked about earlier, they're desperate to hold on to power and the financial system. And that's why they wanted to great reset us. And Trump is the fighter who's saying, no, he's like Gandalf, you shall not pass.
Yeah.
Boom. That's it.
Let's go. I got another story. We might as well bring it up here. This is kind of interesting. We'll go to, America dodged a real bullet in the form of Vice President candidate Tim Walz, along with Kamala. Ladies and gentlemen, about half or more, this is from CBS, okay? When you get legacy media reporting on this stuff, you're in trouble. About half or more of the roughly $18 billion in claims paid out by Medicaid to Minnesota-run programs may have been fraudulent, and at least 14 programs were lightly exploited, a federal prosecutor has said. So they're having real problems in Minnesota. And here we go to this story. Let's see, are we large enough on the screen for this? Let's go full screen here for this, Blake.
Sure.
Okay. Breaking: Governor Tim Walz facing mass calls to resign after billions of additional fraud has been exposed. He closed an office that investigated fraud for years. This has only renewed the calls for Tim Walz to resign. President Trump saying that Walz turned Minnesota into a fraudulent hub of money laundering activity. Let's see how Tim Walz is getting on. How long is this clip? It's 58 seconds. This is good. Here we go.
It's interesting. He's made quite a few maneuvers that are questionable, I would say, over these last years. Now appointing, I should say, a fraud czar, but he closed at the statewide level an office that investigated fraud for many years. There are questions about that. This has only renewed the call for Governor Tim Walz to resign. He is currently running for a third term as governor, but this has really ramped up under his watch the last 7 years, all of this fraud exploding onto the national scene. I think think it's 5 or 6 federal investigations that have now been announced in Minnesota from SNAP, our welfare fraud. The state doesn't want to give that over. Our voter rolls, Minnesota doesn't want to hand that over to the feds. Illegal immigrants having commercial driver's licenses here. In fact, President Trump saying that Walz has turned Minnesota into a fraudulent hub of money laundering activity. Those are the president's words.
All right. So pretty significant developments coming out of Minnesota. The heat is on. So when you get CBS reporting, MSNBC, and they're saying that these are the kind of numbers that we're dealing with, the writing's on the wall for Tim Walz. I think he's politically dead in the water. And the Somali issue, and notice, Blake, that they rolled in along with the money and all that, but the election rolls, we want to see election rolls. Minnesota's election rolls, Michigan State's election rolls, Arizona's election rolls, Georgia's election rolls, all of these battleground states and Dem stronghold states, solidly blue areas are being challenged. This is really interesting stuff. Again, I see convergence. It all seems to be coming down at once, one after the other. And is any of this reflected in the fact that we're seeing historic low numbers for the Democrat approval in the dustbin? How did he put it? It's lower than the Dead Sea. Holy fuck. So a lot to digest with that. Couple of clips, Blake. Your thoughts on what we just saw, Minnesota and Tim Walz.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to get to the bottom of that whole Somali corruption scandal, and I think the billions that's been funneled. What could come out of it too is I wonder if Ilhan Omar is going to find herself on a plane back to Somalia and kicked out of the House of Representatives for being operating illegally. Because the fact that she's helped and assisted in this scam. But it reminds me of our own backyard in the early 1990s when the NDP got caught in the Bingo Gate scandal, where they were channeling millions of dollars through essentially the government took over what used to be private through churches and associations. They used to have baseball bingo, all different associations can run bingos. They said, no more, it's all going to be run through the government and government sanctioned contractors, which turned into a big kickback scheme to the NDP, their political party, and part of their machine. So, when they get caught, it caused our premier at that time, Mark Harcourt, to resign. But this is at a scale way beyond that. It's very similar, though. It's this scam that they've run to maintain their power, both in vote buying schemes and running finances into their NGOs and all kinds of stuff.
There's been a lot of criticism against Pam Bondi, but I'm of a mind that would suggest this, that Trump knows what he's dealing with. I think Trump's got his hand on all the throttles. Everything's working. He's firmly in control of his administration. And counter to what Marjorie Taylor Greene said, that there is no plan, I think there is a plan. And I think it's coming along beautifully. Everything's coming together beautifully. It's just I'm seeing victory after victory after victory. We get that Supreme Court victory on the tariffs. If Trump gets that, the sky is blue. The golden era will truly have arrived for the United States. And it will be in marked contrast to the disintegration of Canada into something completely unrecognizable. The contrast could not be greater. You'll have a billionaire on one side of the street, and us on the other side will be looking like Mr. Monopoly with our pockets open, empty at community chest.
Well, Trump, speaking with Canada, because I know we're probably going to close out shortly here, but Canada is a big story now as of yesterday, because Trump's administration has essentially said market monopolies, your supply management in Canada is on the table or no deal.
Right. That is massive.
And Carney's response to that was simply because he had, Fat Ford right next to him. He said it is not on the table. Canada will continue to protect its
the double
crony capitalist. So here's the thing. Canada is showing its double standard. It's a lying country. It's not willing to trade freely. We want to have all the benefits of market monopolies and be able to send all our trade at a discount to the United States, but America is not allowed to do it back to Canada, and that's what they're saying.
So what happens to Canada? Here's my question.
Well, that's an easy one now, because every time
Trump's going to end it. Trump's ending CUMSA or whatever the hell they call it. That
CUSMA, Canada, U.S., Mexico agreement is going to be ripped up by the end of 2026, right? And that's the thing. Carney is throwing all of his marbles into 2026 midterms. I'm telling you that right now. That's why he's dragging his heels on making a deal, because he's playing both sides of the fence here. Ford, the Premier of Ontario, the most populous province in Canada, about 14 million people, roughly represents almost 40% of the size of Canada's population. He's trying to flex. He's in control. He's ready to throw everything under the bus if it's not for Ontario. The market monopolies really benefit Ontario and Quebec. And what's going to come out of this? A free, independent Alberta. Watch Alberta, folks. Alberta's going to break away. They're going to say it's done. So Carney's going to be forced to the table. Break up Canada. You keep going on the way you're going, because every time Ford opens his mouth, that's probably 100,000 more votes to seeing Alberta separate.
Yeah, which means it's fuel, eh?
Well, people hate Ontario. I mean, the hate for Ontario and Quebec is growing greater and greater in the West. To the point where I don't think they can stop the floodgates. I think it's either we got to reopen the Canadian Constitution or leave and join the U.S. That's your choice.
Holy shit, man! If Alberta, I'm out of here. I'll give you my house. I'll just run. You keep it. You got.
Well, I don't think you'd have to move. Canada would have, or British Columbia would have to follow suit, because Saskatchewan's going to go. We would be a disconnected outside of the Yukon, but if Yukon says, "Well, we're not going to be alone out here. We'll just join up with
Alaska."
Yeah, and they're all gold miners there. So it's basically they'll be like, "Yeah, we'll go with Alaska and Alberta," and that means BC is completely surrounded.
Yeah.
And that would be it. And then, we can start cheering for the Seahawks and BC.
Yeah, go Seahawks. What do they call it? The 13th man or the 11th man? What is it?
Yeah, we're the 12th man. We're 12 North. Yeah,
12 North. So it's like, because the audience, the idea is that the audience adds an extra fielder, or I don't know, my linebackers and my fullbacks.
Well, the Seahawks are number 1 in the league today.
Are they Seahawks?
Yeah, they just beat the Rams in a NFC. Well, it's basically the top teams in the league went at it last night, and it went into overtime. It was exciting. It was
and we're getting down. It's January, right? Oh, come on, Seahawks!
They now have clinched. Now they just need to win. If they win the last 2 games, they will be top seed in the league.
Who are we going up? Who do they face? Who are the last?
They got the Panthers.
Okay,
next.
Florida Panthers.
Well, no, that's hockey.
Carolina
Panthers.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And then the big one will be they also play the 49ers in a division matchup in the last game.
The 49ers, yeah.
But the 49ers are right there. As a matter of fact, the top 3 teams for the NFC West is essentially the Rams, the Seahawks, and the San Francisco 49ers.
The 49ers is they're like the arch rivals of Seattle. If I was to say they have a rivalry, arch rival, I'm going to go 49ers.
Oh yeah, I went and saw them play, and it's one game, and it was great.
Did you? I've never seen an NFL. I would love to. That would be great. So you went down to Kingdom, or where did you?
Yeah, I've gone a couple times. The loudest one was 2012. It was a year before they won the Super Bowl.
Was the Kingdom still standing then, or was
no, it's gone. It was at that time it was CenturyLink Field. Today it's Lumen Field, I think they call it.
New
sponsor. But but it was so loud. I mean, it was way louder than you could ever be in a concert.
Well, they do it so they can throw the quarterback signals out. The quarterback.
Oh, it was great.
They
were playing the Jets. They were playing the Jets at that game, and it was just completely the Jets quarterback in 2012 could not. There was probably about a half a dozen false starts.
Yeah, he couldn't even hear it.
They can't get the call off, so they have to go with the taps, right?
Yeah.
That's how they do it. Foot motions and taps on the back of and so everybody has to keep their eyes on the feet of the quarterback, because that's the count, right?
Yeah,
They can't hear him going the calls. It's hilarious, but it was
that is
built.
great.
I think they were talking about banning the stadiums being built
It would
to
be so
augment
hard.
noise.
It would be so hard to play there, right? You know, a big game like that. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
it's changed though because I've seen this in a lot of areas that where a lot of the big league sports have gotten too expensive for what used to be the louder
Yeah.
blue collar type of fans. The ones that go to the gladiator sports. Now it's like expensive, so now you get like
Yeah.
sort of the wealthy type people, and they're not as loud. They're too wimpy. Get out of there and let
Oh,
the
you want that. You want the energy in a sporting event. That's what it is. Too many DEIers. I hear the NFL is hiring a lot of newcomers from Canada. All right. Well, Blake, I want to thank you for being here with me today. What a hell of a show. Some good stuff happening. Kind of feeling more positive, a little more upbeat. We had some, is we ever going to see anything? Patience my ass. I got to kill something. But here today, we're seeing a couple of indictments. This convictions, even not just indicted, but we got the conviction, sentencing to be later. But I really don't care about the sentencing on this woman. The point is, you broke the law. You were convicted of it. You can no longer be a judge in I think it was in Wyoming. So good news all the way around from our side. Blake, thanks again for everything. And loyal viewers, boy, Blake and I sure aren't breaking the internet here, but we have a lot of fun talking about this stuff, and we appreciate you joining, each and every one of you joining us. Please like the video, share it on social media, and we're going to
follow us on X.
And we're going to be back on Tuesday. Yeah, definitely follow us both on X. So the videos can be seen there too. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for now. We'll see you on Tuesday.